Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper left hand corner we got Worst starting as the red Protoss. Upper right corner we got Nesh starting as the blue Terran. This is going to be on Metropolis, and you better believe Nesh is more than likely going to go drop on this map, just because look how much drop space you got to work with. Although I guess a lot of that depends on the opening game. Actually, do I want to go pink? I just feel like this is a little bit too close in color. Now we'll stick with the original colors here. Game 1 Worst looked fantastic. Honestly, between I don't know what happened between last season Gosuleague and this season Gosuleague, but Worst has really picked up his game. He looked fantastic, and it looks like he's got the bone of luck here. Though, latently, both because of latent friendship and because of race bias, where we want Terran to advance to the next bracket for gameplay diversity. Is there an arrow right there? There is. I wonder what the arrow's pointing to. Just these rocks down here? Maybe there's some secret on the map? If I just follow the arrow? That would actually be really mind trippy if their map maker did that. Anyway. There's one on this side just to be like, get out that way. Anyway. Point being, we are hoping Nesh advances. No offense to Worst. We're just looking for more... We're looking for more variety of matchups in the next round. Nesh, classically, honestly, is one of those guys that... hovers between Gosuleague Tier 1 and lower Pro League. I'm actually a little bit shocked to see him in Gosuleague Tier 2 here. He's one of those guys who's a threat. Just consistently, he's a very good player. See if he can bounce back, but Worst looked great last match. His macro, everything, really very sharp. Gateway, and I didn't get the timing of that gateway, but we got a gateway into a simulator build. Let's see if Worst opts for an early game defensive zealot. We have an SCV scout making its way out before that barracks is complete, and we do have the refinery dropped for Nesh as well. 3 SCV making their way in. So it looks like this is shaping up to be 3 Marine into expand, although I do like what Nesh did as far as a bit of variation in the previous match. We do have the initial zealot being constructed. That probe coming across that SCV, given the timing of scout patterns, this is at the league where they will start noticing that sort of thing. I think Worst is going to have an idea that he's going to find his opponent in the upper right hand corner sooner rather than later, and you can see he was already sending a zealot that direction. Marine pushing that back. We do have the... We should come up with names for these. This could be like the horseshoe or something like that, or the less than sign. Is that right? Is it the less than sign that makes the L, or that always makes the... The function of them I always recall, the name of them not so much. Zealot chasing dangerously close to this Marine. Is Nesh going to react in time? Does react pretty rapidly. Is going to have to rely on that horseshoe. Tried to focus down that probe, got a lot of damage laid on that probe before it was able to back out. And the Marine, doing a nice yakety sax as it spawns, is able to take that probe out. And that's not nothing. Because, yeah, you want to get... Ooh, that SCV not favorable right there. Nesh wants to make sure that factory is complete. Obviously, Worst wants to try to delay it as best as possible. The Zealot has gotten at least 2 Marine kills in the space of this. We got more Zealots in the base, but that first Vulture is constructing. That means it's going to be delayed Dragoons potentially, and Nesh has handled this fairly well. He's lost 2 Marines, 3 Marines, which against 2 Zealots is manageable. Ooh, it took an extra hit right there, and now that Vultures can beat infinite Zealots, and you can see Worst is trying to get the best that he can do. And the Dragoon actually, wow, got a Dragoon out more rapidly than I thought he would, but it's going to be 3 Marines versus the Dragoon, so Worst is effectively donating troops right this second. And on top of that, he's donating troops at whenever you go for that, you really want SCV kills. So he's not going to be able to stop a follow-up Vulture, honestly. And as soon as the 3rd Marine's produced, that's going to be rapidly. And all this is going to do is this is delaying his natural expansion and allowing Nesh to get up a base a little bit more rapidly. And also a pretty significant degree of map control in Nesh's favor. He's going to go ahead and plop that bunker down. But this heavily damaged Dragoon, you can see it's just not much of a threat, is getting chased back. I don't even know that I guess it's safe to build that bunker because of the Dragoon versus everything else sort of thing, and you don't have siege tanks out, you don't have mines quite upgraded. It looks like Nesh has been somewhat delayed. Get in there, Marines! Okay, Marines slotting in. Dragoon taking a face full of damage. And I take that back, and at the end of the day, I thought Looks like range just finishing, by the way, but it's only 2 Dragoons here, so should hold. This Marine being a little bit lazy, not getting in that bunker. And Nesh continuing to build Marines. Is he going to go for an assault after this? He's got a siege tank queued up. Rather than dropping the command center in the midst of this, Nexus about halfway, rather than dropping the command center, getting a siege tank, getting mines, and continuing to build Marines, and he's hiding the Marines to the back corner, away from Worst, so rather than surfacing them to alert Worst to a possible counterattack. And I'm wondering if he gets a good pot shot with that siege tank and is able to wipe out a Dragoon, if he's going to go in the midst of this. Yeah, no command center being constructed. We have Vulture speed, no second factory, by the way, and some defensive mines. So Nesh playing possum a little bit here. The problem with this, though, is it's, well, I missed this. We do have, we've got the dropship here bottom left. Nesh loves it. Looks like Worst has spotted it. I think he sniffed that out. A dropship's making its way to the front, but it's not able to link up with anything. And now that Dragoon count is at 4, and one more Dragoon, like, honestly, even with this, it's a little bit scary for the siege tank. Is Nesh just gonna push and roll tide here? Worst, I mean, he spotted everything. Now Nesh going ahead and dropping that Nexus. But the SCV is a little bit late to repair that bunker. There's only one SCV, which means more... We're going to need some troops on the field. Nesh's build order falling apart a little bit here, because there goes the bunker. Worst still isn't going to be able to bust, because it's just there's a lot of troops here. But holy cow. And Nesh now making his way towards the north, but the dropship is cut off. Oh, never mind. He was going for a cutoff route to try to get mines behind these Dragoons. Not quite making it. I misread that entirely. I misread that intention entirely. All right. The Vultures, however, engaging in a fight, only getting the edge of that Dragoon. The SCV also getting picked off on the front. Now Nesh is in a position where he absolutely needs to kill some probes or take out this Nexus. There's a shield battery there and the 6 Dragoons. He's at least opened up the front where the dropship is going to be in play, and Worst doesn't have a massive amount of units to cope. He's got 6 Dragoons right this second. He might have 8 momentarily. He does have 3 gateways, trying to build some stuff out to the corners so he can see anything, and he's also created an interesting wall in the midst of this, starting to make his way out and pick off the units that are on the low ground. Going to get a lot of Marine kills. Know that an observer was able to spot that, but Nesh was able to sneak the Vultures into that natural expansion in the midst of this, but is not getting any probe kills and is getting pushed back by the Dragoons on top of this. And as a result, his economy is, he's way behind Worst. I don't know that this is going to get a lot else done. We got 1 mine to work with, and Nesh will be lucky if that mine lands on top of having this observer right here, just trying to keep Worst occupied right this second. Vulture wiped out, and now Nesh has 0 map control. He's got 1 Vulture hanging out here at the 9 o'clock. There's a Wraith being built that I don't know what that Wraith is going to accomplish, especially with the observer out. We have shuttle speed Reaver being produced opposite sides, so everything in the early game, I think Nesh was just kind of playing this by ear a little bit. Early game play didn't work out the way he wanted it to, and now Worst should be able to turn this around fairly effectively. He's already at double the supply. He's just looking a lot stronger right this second as far as overall map construction. 2 siege tanks making their way out. We do have 2 Dragoons here. Dropship needs to be careful, because if it gets picked off, that's a lot of resources to lose. And he honestly wants that dropship where it's at to provide the high ground spotting. The misfire chance with the 2 Dragoons in position, they're going to get, yeah, a siege tank and going to deal with that fairly effectively. Also, you know, just sitting at the 9 o'clock, is the Wraith produced? I think the Wraith was produced. Oh, that's the concept. Run back to the main. This is clever from Nesh. I'm having a hard time keeping up with his strategies here, but recognizing that Reavers would be a threat, he built some Wraith and dashed them back to his main to try to cope with any sort of airdrop threat. And it looks like he has managed to minimize the worker count a bit, but he's way behind where he wants to be supply-wise. Tech-wise, Worst is in a good position. Another siege tank getting caught out mid-map, by the way. Shuttle and some Zealots making the way, and by building those Wraith, that also cut into the latent siege tank count, unfortunately. So we got 1 siege tank to try to defend a pretty sizable attack force here from Worst. Although, nice job with the Wraith. Reaver going to drop on the low ground. The Zealot's going to make their way out. Keep in mind they don't have Cloak. What's crazy is I don't think Worst is going to dive here. Oh, never mind. Is he going to dive here? There's nothing. Okay, never mind. There's damaged Marines in that bunker. I thought that bunker was empty. Might be able to walk into this, pick off the siege tank, and try to finish. This is very risky. Siege tank shot. And again, and now that's completely worked out. The Reaver can turn attention to that bunker. That's going to get wiped out pretty quickly. Now these Reaver shots going to blow up not just Marines, but SCVs. That was a lucky dud shot. And Nesh's natural expansion breached. On top of that, a third base going up for Worst. Even if he loses everything down here, he's still in a pretty solid spot. 2 siege tanks up on the high ground, pushing these Dragoons back. Worst continuing to ferry troops this direction. The SCVs huddled around the gas to try to mitigate losses. But this is more lost mining time, which is turning into potentially fewer siege tanks. The Vulture able to plant a mine to push some of this back. And Worst, yeah, you can just go ahead and back off with this. He's already done, he's going to slow walk a Reaver this way. He's done a considerable amount of damage. Nesh is running on 5 factories. He does have the SCV count if he can get, yeah, started mining it to make that roll. But Worst, he's got that 9 o'clock base up. He's got 3 bases running. He's at a significant supply lead. He can just continue with what he's doing and should be in a strong spot. Has been delayed Zealot leg speed in the midst of all the chaos that he's been trying to push. Now that those Wraith are off the field, dropping a Dragoon on the low ground wants to exploit the advantageous drop architecture of this map as well. Vulture goes down along with some SCVs, and Nesh no longer mining, which basically cuts his production down to 2.5 factories, approximately. Mine dropped. SCVs fleeing from this location. Some Dragoons were trying to slot in to get something done there. It looks like they're just going to keep migrating between the natural expansion and the main and deny mining at this natural. Armory looks like it is going to complete +1 weapons, so that's at least something here for Nesh, but his economy has been shattered as bleeding siege tanks. Having to plant mines up on the high ground, which is not where he wants them. He wants them out on the field right this second. Still didn't get the shuttle on the Reaver, and that Reaver going to get another turret here on the front. Nesh is starting to fall apart at the seams here. SCV's making their way back, but the Reaver can just wander up, get another big pot shot. And that is going to be, oh, he's lucky that it auto-targeted something that just kind of cycled the shot. Otherwise, honestly, that probably would have been, I mean, at the moment, Worst definitely is in a strong position, is holding this game, but that would have been game-ending damage. Would have sped up the demise right this second. It's going to be a lot. Looks like Nesh, by the way, somehow snuck these Vultures out, maybe with another dropship. To his dismay, he's going to be finding that, yep, that 9 o'clock base is up and it's been running for quite some time. Reaver and Shuttle making their way back across to try to provide some defense. The Vulture's going all the way around. Do we have a cannon here? We have 1 cannon. So the Vulture's going to be able to at least get some probes in the midst of this, but Worst continuing to ferry troops out towards the natural of Nesh. Nesh is down 30 supply. Another drop here from Nesh at the natural of Worst. There are Dragoons on the high ground and some Zealots going to be able to slow walk away, but at least able to get some interruption there. He's done a fantastic job of actually keeping Worst's probe count fairly low. I'm not sure if I want to credit that to all of these drops or Worst not maintaining his macro in the midst of all of the assaults on multiple fronts. Somehow Nesh is actually close in workers, which is just insane. A credit to him for that. But Nesh now starting to move out on 2 bases. Has a Goliath in the space of this. Does have +1 weapons. He doesn't have any additional weapons upgrades, but Zealot leg speed, shuttle speeds there. We got a lot of Zealots and Reavers to potentially do some damage. Worst, ooh, accidentally canceling that Nexus bottom left is going to cost him a handful of resources, but he is going to need to clear out that starport that's still hanging out there. But Nesh with finally what looks like a hefty siege tank grouping. I think he's making his way, rather than as an attack posture. Well, actually, I take that back. Going for attack posture. I was wondering if he's actually just going to migrate up and try to grab that 12 o'clock and play it that way. But now, Worst turning this into a fight. pushing a lot. Got 3 Reavers in the backfield. Holy cow. The siege tank scattering, and a lot of these are grouped up. Yeah, exploding. The Zealot's going to be able to clean up everything underneath. The barracks at least providing some distraction, but whenever you have Zealots just hanging out in the natural expansion, it's not a good sign. SCV trying to defend themselves. Some emergency clutter being planted here from Nesh to try to at least slow down the advance. 3 Reavers wiped out. I don't know that that was cost efficient for Worst, but I don't think it matters at the same time. Simply because Nesh is still boxed into 2 bases. Worst is grabbing his 4th. He's doing fairly well on the 3 bases he has. Is faltering a little bit as far as his supply lead, but in another minute and a half, Nesh is going to be out of resources. And he still doesn't have a big siege tank grouping. Looks like he went up to 6 factories in the space of this. He's light on resources and doesn't really have an option to grab an additional base, and I don't know that he's really going to be able to punch through and make that happen unless Worst really drops the ball and lets that happen. Unit scrambling bottom left to clean up some vultures, and that is going to be a distractionary attack, allowing Nesh to get in. The dropship is swatted out of the air. Mine drag into the siege tank, which leaves Dragoon versus Vulture. The Vulture remains, but Fallout Dragoon's quickly going to be able to clear that out. Nesh pushing forward. Looks like he's angling, so he's got the command center about roughly 2/3 finished. I think he recognizes he needs to draw some of these units either into a minefield or a bad engagement. It looks like he might get that, but the Zealots streaming across, able to get to the rear flank of those siege tanks. There weren't a lot of siege tanks to begin with. More Zealots moving in to Zealot Bomb. And unfortunately for Nesh, this isn't the trade he was looking for. He needed to wipe out, honestly, this entire attack grouping without losing anything if he was going to try to get an additional base. So Nesh is going to GG out. That gives the victory to Worst. Worst looks great. Holy cow. I don't know what happened between last season and this season, but he looks just head and shoulders better in these matches and these engagements. His macro's on point. His micro is looking solid. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for listening.